This is a Sports Catastrophe production.
Hey there, Heather, ho there. It's Jeff Cutter Diamond welcoming you to another Sports Catastrophe Birthday Boy. And I know that normally I do a birthday boy of someone who's actively live or an active player. But because I had failed to find someone March 17th fitting that description, I have decided to do this guy. He's an icon for both college and professional. He was a hardline player for 16 years for Washington in the 30s and 40s. He would coach professionally after he retired as a player, but he was basically an all around threat. You know the old thing saying, well, you're going to have an all around threat? Oh, he was an all around threat. He was a good passer and a good punter in his own. Right. In fact, he had the highest average yards per punt in a season from 1940 and was only recently broken in 2022. That's how good it was. It was part of the first Pro Football Hall of Fame class, which was in 1963. Elected to the 75th and 100th anniversary teams all time. His name is Sammy Baugh. Sammy Baugh was born in Temple, Texas on St. Patrick's Day, 1914. The second son. Anyway, when he was 16, they moved to Sweetwater, Texas, and he would practice his passing on a swinging automobile tire. He would practice punting more than throwing at times. He really wanted to be a baseball player and had a scholarship to go to Washington State University. But unfortunately, the scholarship fell through when he injured himself, signing second base. He couldn't find another school. However, when Texas Christian University's coach Judge Myers said that he could play football alongside baseball and basketball, he decided to go to Texas Christian. In his 3 varsity seasons, he threw 587 passes, being an All-American twice in 1935 and 1936, and helping TCU win the Sugar Bowl against LSU and beating Marquette in the first ever Cotton Bowl in 1937, which he was named MVP. He didn't win the Heisman. He would finish fourth in 1936, but still, he did pretty well for Texas Christian in 3 years. 40 touchdown passes. Anyway, Washington owner George Preston Marshall offered Baugh $4K to play with the franchise. He wasn't sure about playing pro football. He wanted to try to play pro baseball, but he took Washington at its offer and decided, sure, why not? Of course, this was before the draft came by. So anyway, Baugh was a good third baseman. He was actually, after college, he signed a contract with the Cardinals organization and was sent to the minor leagues to play for the Columbus Redbirds. And he was up to the other top farm club in Rochester. He was not happy about his prospects, especially being a shortstop behind Marty Marion, who became the Cardinals' starting shortstop. He decided to go to football. I kind of screwed up. I said that this was before the draft, but this was right during the draft. In the second year the draft was held in 1937, Baugh was drafted first round, sixth overall of the 1937 draft by Washington. Well, of course, the team moved from Boston to Washington, but he was sixth overall. Unfortunately, the 5 guys ahead of him didn't do too much. Sam Francis, Ed Goddard, Ray Bovid, Ed Winsup, and Mike Brasrek were not really that huge and all that. Washington went with Sammy Baugh. He was named the highest paid player on the team, which was weird because he hadn't even started. Anyway, during his rookie season in 1937, he would play quarterback, but sometimes he would be a tailback or halfback. He also played safety because back in the old days, the NFL players would play both offense and defense. And he also was a punter. He completed 91 passes, which was an NFL record at the time, of course, and threw for over 1,100 yards to lead the league in that category. He got Washington to the NFL title game against Chicago, helping Washington win 28-21 thanks to 3 second-half touchdowns. In fact, his 335 yards passing was the most by a rookie in a playoff game until Russell Wilson would break that record in 2012. Washington would be in a massive rivalry with Chicago, competing in 3 NFL title games in the 40s. In 1940, the Bears won 73-0. But after a reporter told Sammy Bell what would happen if the first drive of the game for Washington would have been a touchdown, he shrugged. He said the score would have been 73-7. Anyway, Baugh would be huge and all that for what he did in 1942. Anyway, 1943 was one of the greatest seasons ever by a football player. He led the NFL in pass completions, punting, which he normally, and interceptions. Yeah, he got 11 interceptions one game, one season. One of his best single game performances was when he threw for 4 touchdowns and actually picked off 4 passes for Washington in a 42-20 win over the Lions. He was actually an all-pro tailback too. Unfortunately, the Bears would beat Washington in the NFL title game, and Baugh suffered a concussion. But anyway, in 1945, he completed over 70% of his passes, which was the NFL record, and is the 4th best today. This is like almost 8 decades later. He would throw 11 touchdowns and only 4 interceptions. Washington ended up losing the 1945 NFL title game to Cleveland, the Cleveland Rams, before they moved to St. Louis. There was a safety thing and all that. The safety was the margin of victory because when Baugh tried to throw to a receiver, drop back in the end zone, he hit the goalpost. And under the rules, this was ruled as a safety and the ball was dead. He actually did that. Anyway, the Washington owner, Marshall, was so angry he wanted a major rule change after the season. And the rule change was a forward pass that strikes the goalpost is automatically ruled incomplete. Anyway, Sammy Baugh was given a day to himself in 1947. That day, the Washington Touchdown Club honored him at Griffith Stadium and gave him a station wagon. He then went out against the Cardinals and threw for 6 touchdowns. However, Washington ended up being 4-8, despite Baugh having career highs in completions, yards, and touchdown passes. He would play for 5 more years, and his final game in 1952 at Griffith Stadium against Philadelphia, he won the game over the Eagles and then was given a massive standing ovation from the crowd. He had won numerous NFL passing titles and all that. By the time he retired, he had 13 NFL records, within being a quarterback, punter, and safety. He was just amazing what he could do for Washington and all that, making the forward pass an effective weapon. He still holds 2 records. Most seasons leading the league in passing with 6. Nobody has done that more than 6 times. Well, Steve Young did 6 times. Not even Tom Brady or Drew Brees or Peyton Manning have had 6 times leading the league in passing. And most seasons leading the league with the lowest interception percentage with 5. He's also 4th highest in single season completion percentage, leading the league in yards gained and completion percentage, 7. Baugh, as a punter, retired with the NFL record for highest punting average in a career, 45.1 yards, as 2nd all time. Shane Lechler is the only one ahead of him. He led the NFL in punting from 1940 to 1943, and his 51.4 yards per punt in a season was the standard until Titans rookie Ryan Stonehouse did it with 53 yards in 2022. He played safety and is the only player to lead the league in passing, punting, and interceptions in the same season. It was huge. All of that. Anyway. Baugh left Washington and decided not to return for Washington functions, even though the organization would give him invitations. After his playing career, he would He coached for Hardin Simmons, a college down in Oklahoma. Baugh made history as he was the first coach of the New York Titans of the AFL in 1960 and 61, going 14-14. He would coach Houston in the 64 AFL season, but was 4-10. He also took up acting and was in a 12-week serial called King of the Texas Rangers, as in the Texas-based police force and all that. So anyway, after retiring from football, Baugh and his wife moved to his ranch in Espanola, Texas, having 4 boys and a girl. But Baugh had more pleasure from ranching than ever football. All that. Sports writers would tag him as Slingin Sammy and all that. But he wanted to be called Sam Baugh. All that. Anyway, Baugh would die of numerous health issues, including Alzheimer's disease, and a hospital in Rodin, Texas. In 2008, he was 94 years old. He was a major force for being on NFL Films videos at the time, and even swearing in some of them. Baugh did his whole job and all of that. Washington retired his number 33, one of only 4 numbers retired by the team. And JC actually had a Sammy Baugh throwback jersey in a video for his song Girls, Girls, Girls. And it increased awareness of Baugh and also for the throwback jersey. Many people called him one of the greatest college football players of all time, alongside NFL superstar. And all of that. So he would do quite well for them. So in the NFL for Washington, he played 165 games, picking up 21,886 yards, 187 touchdowns, but 203 interceptions. So he wasn't perfect. As a punter, he would average 45 yards as a punter in his career. And interceptions, he picked up 11 in 1943. He would not have an interception after 1945 and had 31 overall. In the postseason for Washington, in 6 postseason games, he won 2 titles, 1937 and 1942. So anyway, he tried his best as being a coach, but couldn't do it. But still, Slingin Sammy Baugh is just iconic. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. I do.